Today we're going to head up the Foothills Trail and do a little trail maintenance. About 3/4 of a mile up the trail we have a water cistern and a signpost in a creek bed. And a bear pretty much destroyed the signpost, and today I'm going to carry some supplies, some gear up there and do a quick repair on this signpost. So let's head up the trail. Okay, so we're up here on the trail. We've come up about 3/4 of a mile up from North Carolina 281, headed up the Foothills Trail away from Whitewater Falls, going in the direction of the Sloan Bridge access. So this is the signpost that I mentioned earlier. This was put in about a year or so ago as part of an Eagle Scout project. They put in the signpost, and there's a water cistern back down here in the creek bed, which I'll show you in a few minutes. These water cisterns are great because sometimes we have a lot of drought, and when that happens these creeks will dry up. But the water cistern is designed with a liner around it so that water will seep into this big pipe, and there'll be a pool of water so deep in the bottom of this corrugated pipe with a concrete lid on it, even when the trail is pretty dry. So they're really valuable to the thru hiker. But today the water's flowing good and the cistern will be full, and but we're going to work on this signpost. So about 6 months ago I was coming up this trail and noticed that the signpost had been pulled up and was thrown to the side of the trail. Wasn't sure why that happened. Maybe a hiker come along and leaned on it and knocked it over or what. It was the signpost originally was only buried about a foot deep. This is very rocky ground up here, okay? And so they didn't dig far and they hit rock and they just stuck it in the ground and covered it up, and that was good. But we come up the trail and the signpost had been uprooted and was just kind of thrown down on the side over here, and we propped it up. And I came back up a few weeks later with my hole diggers and some tools and stuff, and I put a dead man on the bottom of this post and I buried it deep. Spent about an hour up here just pulling all of these rocks you see here out of the ground by hand, and dig a little bit and pull rocks out, dig a little bit, and did that until I got it down in the ground good. Tamped the dirt in real tight, piled rocks all up around it like you can see here, and was just kind of like, let's see them pull it up now. So it turns out that it was a bear that was doing it. Bear was coming down this trail and got to this signpost, and for whatever reason he didn't like it and pulled it up. So after I buried it good and deep, you can see what Mr. Bear did to it here. He took and really mangled it up good, but he didn't pull it up. So we come back up here today to fix this thing. So, I talked to my friend Hayward Douglas, the executive director of the Foothills Trail, and we looked at it one day and discussed burying a new post or what have you, and I said, well, let's just bring up a piece of wood and we'll just bolt it on here and put some new reflectors on it and cut this old post off, you know, so high, and just put a new piece of wood on it. That way if the bear comes back again next year and does the same thing, all we have to do is just unbolt it and put another piece of sacrificial wood on it. But this thing's still buried in good, okay? It's in the grounds. I'm not worried about it going anywhere. So I got some new reflectors, got a new piece of wood, brought my saw, drill, tools, whatever, and we're going to put this thing on. All right, first thing I'm going to do is I just brought my old trusty Craftsman saw up here, and I'm just going to come somewhere right in here and just saw this thing off and get rid of it. Alright, now I'm going to take the new board, I'm going to clamp it on here, take my drill 2 holes in here, use a couple of carriage bolts, and bolt it on. Go ahead and put the first carriage bolt in and lock it down so that it doesn't move, and then I'll drill next. We've got the new piece of wood put on. It's bolted on good and tight. It's not going anywhere. Now I'm going to put on the reflectors. Maybe the bears don't like the reflectors. I don't know. But at any rate, Mr. Bear's got him a nice new piece of wood to claw on next year. We're going to put these reflectors on front and back, even though really just the front one's from the trail perspective, that's all you'll see is the front one, but the back one will be good. Maybe if somebody gets down there and they need their light, will hit this on the way out and they can help guide them out. All right, there you go. She's all done. So now what I'll do is I'm going to take you down there and let's take a look at this cistern so you know what we're talking about. So you're out here on the Foothills Trail. Well, there's probably a dozen of these cisterns along the way in different places, and how you know is you look for these signposts with a blue reflector on it, and that means there is a water cistern close by. Here's the cistern right here. When you're coming up the trail and you see the signpost like we just repaired with the blue reflector on it, then look in the creek bed and you'll find a concrete lid like this. Now, take a minute and clear the junk away from it before you go snatching the lid off, because you don't want all this to fall down into your clean water source. Now, this time last year, I hiked down this section of trail, and this was dry, bone dry. There was no water. And this water cistern is a lifesaver. All right, so this was put in as an Eagle Scout project for Troop 767 here in the upstate of South Carolina. And the young man's initials is ADG. I don't remember his name. Hayward knows his name, but I don't remember. Great Eagle Scout project. Put this in, put in several more just like it. So you lift this concrete lid off, and look at all that clean water you got there. And that thing's probably this deep where you could take and put your bottle in there or your little pump filter or whatever, but that water there is clean. There you go. Concrete lid, there's the cistern. All right, well, I hope you've enjoyed tagging along today as we come out and did a little small trail maintenance, repaired the signpost, and keep checking back on my channel. Subscribe if you'd like to. I'll be posting things pretty regular when we come out and do work on the trail or work in the garage or whatever it is that we're up to. Thanks.